Welcome to the Dependency Podcast. I'm your host, Frank, also known as Sir Mason. In January, we got the terrible news that 7-time world champion Jonas Neubauer had suddenly passed away. We lost someone who was a pure lover for the game, an inspiration to us all, and a Tetris father. Before we move on with the actual podcast, I spoke with our guest, vandweller, about Jonas Neubauer. Or as you can tell, what kind of person was Jonas?
I can't speak for everybody, but what I can say is I think for me, I think I resonated a little bit with Jonas, because for me, Jonas was obviously he's like way more talented than anybody I know, including me, about probably in anything that we do, right? But to me, if you sort of watch the documentary and you kind of see like what he was doing, at the time of the documentary, you see kind of where he ended up in, career wise, he like was a kind of, he's like a mortgage broker, wearing some goofy shirt. And then he was like a bartender. And to me, it always seemed like, but here he was like a really brilliant, dynamic guy, a genius, really. There's no question, just extremely highly intelligent, funny. But to me, just a kind of like just knowing, what I learned just through the history, kind of maybe an underachiever, which seems weird to say that. Like outside of the the Tetris thing, which obviously he was, just through combination of being gifted and practice and whatever, brilliant. But like in the rest of life up until maybe a couple years ago, it just kind of seemed like, okay, well, how can someone so brilliant, he's like a bartender or whatever. And
I saw that Vice article that he says I'm a D-list celebrity in the classic Tetris community and the Tetris community. Everyone knows me, but outside of that, who cares?
Yeah. So he's just obviously this really brilliant person who hadn't really found an outlet, and so, and maybe in a lot of ways kind of a late bloomer, and maybe, so I think I kind of resonate with some of that, where it just seemed like, okay, he was this Tetris thing, when the Tetris started to become more visible, community started to grow, and I think, this allowed him to make a go of it, like streaming full-time on Twitch.
Yeah.
And, it seems to me like that's where he kind of, I don't know, found the outlet that he needed. And, there's no question in my mind that had he not passed away, he would have been able to use this to somehow propel himself into something that was kind of bigger, kind of a bigger impact.
Yeah.
Something where it's just, something where it's kind of like he's able to use his talents and just kind of flourish, and in a way that, maybe up until that point, kind of drifting a little bit, So, so that's part of the tragedy for me, is I think that he had just found, just in the last couple of years, like the thing that really like fit him, and that he could sort of make a go of and finally have an outlet for his creativity and for his brilliance. Rather than just being this kind of curiosity, you see like the, Guinness Book of World Records, some guy is juggling, chihuahuas, or this guy is Tetris champion, whatever. I mean, until I think he had that Twitch stream, I think he probably just, and I don't have any special knowledge of this, but probably just seems to me like the kind of person that's struggling for an outlet and a little bit underemployed, So that's, one aspect of the tragedy to me, and one of the reasons why it kind of hit me so hard,
Yeah. And what's the legacy that Jonas will leave behind?
I mean, it's hard to answer a question like that. I mean, he had an impact on so many people. It's probably different for each person, it was just such a, I think, anytime something like this hits, there's no uniform, like, okay, everybody feels this, everybody has the same, comes at it the same way. I mean, part of the, I mean, again, I can only really answer for myself, and, again, part of the tragedy, I mean, it was just awful.
Yeah.
It's, you get the sense again, this guy kind of dorky underachiever, and then and then he kind of a little bit later in life, like finds like Heather,
Yeah.
and it's like, there are people who are in relationships and they're just kind of like, okay, it's a boyfriend and girlfriend, and there's him and there's her and there they are, and it's just kind of like, yeah, you're like, they're together and okay, whatever. But those two really seem to be like kind of like hand in glove, like they just fit each other. It's like finishing each other's sentences, complimenting each other's like strengths and weaknesses, and really like found somebody. And they hadn't really been married all that long when this kind of thing happened, right, in the grand scheme of
True.
things.
Yeah.
And so that's, an aspect of the tragedy as well. And then, then they finally, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but, they finally, get together, and then, they have this dream, of going to this paradise that they both dreamed of, and finally made it happen. And
Yeah.
then basically the week that they finally make it happen, then this horrible thing happens, right? So this kind of thing's gonna hit people in a lot of different ways. So
True.
when you
Yeah.
speak of a legacy, it's like, you come up with something glib like, "Oh, what a great ambassador for Tetris, and never will be matched," and you can have all these like platitudes and bromides, but in the end, I mean, the biggest impact that he's gonna have is for the people that knew him, and for the people that had a relationship with him, and the rest of us certainly can be inspired by him and all that. But when it comes right down to it, the Tetris, like all this stuff, kind of in a way doesn't really. I mean, it pales in comparison to the impact of losing a wife, a son, a friend, that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer a question like that.
When the news broke down, I was still asleep and I woke up and I got confronted by the news. How did you receive the news?
Yeah, so I think the news for like everybody, I think, was the Friday night before the weekend, if I remember correctly. Vince had called me on Wednesday night, and I think he was kind of doing a call, a phone tree kind of thing, and just calling, just people he thought he wanted to know, really. So yeah, I was it was probably about 11 at night, and it was really odd that he would be, dude, first of all, he's pinging me on Discord at that night. It's like, "Hey, can I call you?" And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, "Okay." So he
Yeah.
called me, and then he, told me what had happened. And he was obviously in a great deal of pain. And it was really within about 24 to 36 hours of it happening. And it was pretty
Yeah.
shocking.
So then the news got made public on Friday night American time. For the European it was Saturday. So you knew the news obviously earlier. What did you needed to do? Because everyone is reacting differently to the news. Because had you already had a plan what you wanted to do in the Discord server to help everyone who was obviously down?
Yeah, it was really, actually a very difficult thing to know about it before really most of the community did.
Yeah.
Because, I have to be, I mean, I'm in the Discord. I own the Discord server, and I'm in the Discord server, and I'm there, and I'm observing people, just going about, having, fun old time, memeing, chatting, talking about Tetris, whatever. And I'm sitting there with the knowledge that like a bomb is about to hit the community, and
Yeah.
people are going to be devastated. And I'm just kind of sitting there with that knowledge, and I was, really devastated myself. And I don't know if I had any particular plan for what to do, but I did know that we would have to make, I don't know, we would have to, we couldn't have it spread out over all the channels in the Discord server. So my
Yeah.
plan was just to make a channel with a heart, and figured people would just get the idea, like, oh, come in here to grieve and talk about things. Well, it started that people just started like copy and pasting the hearts and not talking in
Yeah.
that channel. And, my idea was just, okay, let's just have this all in one place. And then, once a certain amount of time has passed, we can go ahead and retire that, kind of that channel, and then kind of put it in the, archive it and bring it out every once in a while for people to just kind of remember, when it's appropriate, remember. But then I had to make another channel because because people wanted to chain that heart, and that heart channel really became, I don't know, kind of like a guest book in a way. It was really, because we had another channel where people could just kind of talk it out, was what it was called, and people could just, whatever was on their minds, whatever. But the heart channel was kind of like for people who are more introverted or weren't really sure what they wanted to say or how to say it, but it was a way for them to just say, okay, I'm here, I'm grieving, I'm hurting just like everyone else, but maybe I don't have the wherewithal or the words to, type what I'm feeling. But so that channel to me was really kind of the more, I don't know, it was more, it was the channel that I was tuned into more, just because it just became like, okay, I'm here, and you saw people reposting that heart who hadn't been in the Discord in a while, or who barely ever interacted with, sort of in a verbal way in the community, but just saying, hey, I'm here. So it was very poignant. And then all the remembrances and the hurt that people were expressing, people needed an outlet for that. And, I think, we have a pretty big Discord server, and, obviously there was also Jonas's Discord, and I think someone had made, some other ad hoc Discord, but, in advance of the community knowing, which was weird to me. But yeah, it's hard to know exactly what to do in a situation like that, but people do want to, kind of express themselves and just, get some visibility. And, so we tried to make that a separate thing, and we kept that up for a couple of weeks. And, there's a tendency to kind of, there's a tendency for that kind of thing to sort of peter out and then to sort of transform into other purposes. And then it just became, well, people posting their PBs and memeing. And I think at that point, it's like, okay, well, let us go ahead before this degenerates any further. Let's go ahead and archive that channel. And I think we'll just kind of, pull it out every once in a while when, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know when it's appropriate, but at some point, but it's not visible now.
It was a difficult month for us all, but we're going to do what we love to do, being passionate about classic Tetris. I haven't formally introduced the guest for today's show. He is the host of Classic Tetris Monthly, and he hosts the largest Discord server devoted to Classic Tetris. He likes to joke around and makes himself and everyone else look like a fool. Yes, I'm talking about vandweller. This podcast recording was done live on twitch.tv/MonthlyTetris, where over 100 people listened to a European podcast guy and an American Tetris host guy talk about CTM, monthly Tetris, chicken sandwiches, and more. This is our conversation. vandweller, welcome to the Dependency Podcast, and thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. It's a big favor I'm doing for you, because my audience is bigger than yours. So really, it's like, you're welcome.
Hey, first question is always the same question for everyone who's new on the podcast, and that is, how did you get into NES Tetris?
How did I get into NES Tetris? Okay, well, I mean, I don't know. So I was born, and then several years later, Tetris was released for the Nintendo. I had a Nintendo like for my 1986 birthday or 87 birthday, one of those, probably 87. So, I played NES, and I was, 10-year-old kid playing Nintendo. A couple of years after that, my mom bought NES Tetris, I think, for me for Christmas of 1989. I think I was kind of depressed or something because she gave it to me early. Like, I think she could sense that I needed some kind of pick-me-up, right? And so I remember her taking it from the top of this cabinet where she had been hiding it, and then just gave it to me, and it worked. And I was instantly all better and was never depressed again. But no, but I took a liking to it immediately. I played it, and I think around, for me, when I was a kid, it wasn't about the score, right? It was about lines. I don't know. Lines was on top of the playfield, so I thought, oh, I'm gonna get as many lines as possible. I don't really care about the score. I'd always started at level 5, I want to say. And
Yeah.
I did get to level 20. I remember that. I saw the change to 19 and I did get through to 19 into level 20. So whatever that means for lines, that's what I remember. And I do remember score. I think I had a score that was in the mid 200s was probably the highest score I got. And I also played a lot of B type.
Were you more a fan of B type than A type?
Yeah, because I was like short attention span, so it was kind of like, okay, it had like a beginning and an end, and it was like success. It said success at the end of the night. Always wanted to see what the different, how it plays like characters, like an emu will be running across, or like a bird. I was trying to like document what all the characters were when you won B type. So so yeah, it was that, and it was quick, and I could just kind of play it, and then regular A type is very, I don't know, it always ends in disappointment.
You always stop out.
Yeah, I wanted a thing where it's a success, and then I didn't feel like a big failure.
Yeah. What's the highest B type level that you cleared?
When I was a kid, I have no idea. I probably did not use the A start thing, even though it was in the manual. So probably level 9, probably 949, probably 94 or something like that.
And now?
18.4.
And are you trying to do 18.5?
I've only done 18.4 a couple times. There's no chance I would ever do 18.5. I can't quick tab.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your PB right now?
Right now? What is it? Oh, 691,000, something like that on level 18 start. And then I just got a 19 PB, 19 star PB of like 450 or something like that.
Yeah, and I saw that Sharky is helping you be a better Tetris player.
No, not at all. No, we had one stream, and that was it. And he's never contacted me since. So what does that tell you? Okay.
I don't know.
No, I didn't tell you anything. No, I mean, I want to on MonthlyTetris. We're trying to do, which is this Twitch channel where we run all of our classic Tetris monthly events, and I'm sure we're getting ahead of the whole thing. But yeah, I wanted to start having different programming, and then we want to do a thing called Teach Me Tetris, which is going to teach me, and then maybe later other people Tetris. So I just wanted to get that idea off the ground and just kind of do it, just to get one under my belt, and then we took a bit of a hiatus for streaming this month. So, but we'll pick that back up in February, and it will be, I don't know, various people coming in to teach me Tetris, which is a tall order.
How did you start within the community?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned earlier, played as a kid. I enjoyed it, and I'd always loved a Tetris in whatever form I could get it. After game came out in '89. I played for a couple of years, but once it got to be about 1991, I was like 14 or 15, and I just wasn't really super into video games after that.
Yeah.
So I didn't. I mean, the Nintendo was the last console that I owned, the NES. And after that, I just was interested in other things like girls and books and other whatever. Property destruction, of course. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, if you're a teenager, you probably do a little bit of that. Or just me? Okay, sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, but I'd always been interested in Tetris, and whenever there was like Tetris around, I would like play it, or when phones started to be a thing, like, oh, there's Tetris with the phone, I'll get Tetris with the phone. And I worked for EA for a while, and they had the rights to the Tetris on the phone, and I would play Tetris on the phone. Somehow I don't know, I just got it in my head that, I want to play old school Tetris again. This is about 2016. So I bought an NES and a Tetris cartridge, and I hooked it up to my flat screen TV. And it's like, this is unplayable. I cannot play this. So I put it up and I sold the console. And then, but in the meantime, I'd also created a Twitch account. There was a guy at work who I was a manager, and one of my underlings or whatever, he had mentioned like, oh, we're going to try to go full time with this Twitch channel. I'm like, what is that? Like, that's not gonna, let me go watch it. So I got an account just so I could make fun of him during his streams and stuff. And yeah, he busted out. He didn't make, it's like 3 viewers, whatever. But I still had this Twitch account hanging around, and I must have started to get into. I think somebody showed me like I don't know, or like the YouTube algorithm brought up things about. No, I remember. Okay, I remember what it is. I remember now. So there was somehow in my various travels and clicking around the internet, I came across an article on Kotaku, I think, about somebody who had beat The Legend of Zelda blindfolded. I thought that was really impressive. So I went to YouTube to look that up, and I watched it, and it was really cool. And I fell down this rabbit hole, this like NES speedrun rabbit hole. So this must have primed my YouTube recommendations to be interested in like classic gaming. So around 2017, or I think it was late 2017, it surfaced the Jonas Alex Kerr finals from
2015,
from 2016, right? Isn't that 16?
I thought it was 15. Doesn't matter.
16, 17, one of those. And I was like totally mesmerized. So I instantly went out and bought another NES. I got the CRT going. I got the whole thing, and I started watching like Harry. And there was almost nobody around that time streaming Tetris. It was like, you go now and look at the Tetris category, and there's like a million, like, oh, I mean, I got 2 people watching and they're playing Tetris. Like, okay, like, why are you doing this? Like nobody's watching, just play at home alone. But Jonas was streaming and Harry was streaming, and sometimes you see Jazz Thief and a couple of other people streaming, and I just started to get interested in that, and then came across the Classic Tetris Monthly that Friday, which it started, and I watched it, and I joined the Discord server, and I don't know, I just became a regular in some of these Tetris streams.
Who do you like to watch if you're watching Classic Tetris
now? Nobody. I don't want to watch any of it. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. I like some of my. No, who do I like? Who do I like? I will watch. I will watch Moodoos, because Moodoos is provocative. I like people who are a little bit out of the ordinary, and maybe a little provocative, and will say anything, and a bit abrasive, and kind of like that energy. So I do watch Moodoos, and I will watch Kingsman occasionally, but just to make fun of him. And and then I'll tune into, if somebody's restreaming CTM matchup, I'll go to that, or just pop in here and there. But I don't. In fact, I don't actually follow anyone on Twitch anymore.
Why not?
I'm trying to reduce the number of notifications I get from gadgets in my life. So if I want to watch something, I go and look it up manually, which is weird, I know.
Is it working?
Yeah, it is. I deleted my Facebook account. I don't have Instagram. I don't have Twitter. In fact, I even deleted all the CTM, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. I deleted it all.
Is that why you have a publicly DM to get rid of the notifications?
Well, no, I have a channel within the Classic Tetris Monthly Discord called "Don't DM Vandy." Type here instead, or something like that. And that's because I have kind of executive functioning issues. Like I'm very bad at like staying on top of things, replying to emails, replying to texts, replying to DMs. Like somebody will DM me something, and then I don't want to respond immediately, because maybe I want to think it over, or I'm just not sure how to respond. And then I close the whatever it is, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. And I'll never reply to them. And I'm sure I ghosted you as well, right? Because you were like, "Hey, Vandy, I need a place to host to put all my podcast stuff on a Discord server. Don't want to make my own Discord server. Can I put it on yours?" I saw it, wasn't sure how I wanted to respond, closed it, and I never replied to you. So I needed a way to keep myself publicly accountable, and I figured if I made it a Discord channel, not only would people see that I was not replying to things, and that would sort of guilt me into replying, but also other people would know the answers, and they would reply on my behalf, and it would reduce my workload. So
it's smart. Yeah.
I mean, it's laziness is what it is, but thank you.
I was doing some research about early CTM, and I saw there was some plans about a podcast back in 2019.
There was, yeah. I had wanted to do a podcast. and not because there's any great market demand for it, as you know. There's no objective need for a podcast about Tetris. You know this, and it is, you know, labor of love for you, but there's no huge market demand for it. Okay. And I wanted to do it just to do it, just to have the experience of, you know, putting a podcast together. And like, what
Yeah.
could I learn about that? Because maybe I could use those skills to put together like a podcast that is actually needed in the world. But like so many things, I thought of the idea and I abandoned it. I just couldn't. It was just too much to do, and you know, I was already doing stuff with CTM. I had a job going, and I have a tendency toward perfectionism, not in the good way, not in the sense that I do everything and it's perfect, but in the sense of if I know I can't make it perfect, then I won't do it.
Yeah.
So this leads me to a lot of like projects that are begun and unfinished. So that's one of those.
What are there more classic Tetris projects that you begun and didn't finish?
Oh yeah, millions. We were going to do a PAL tournament back in like 2019. We didn't do that. I've had like a million ideas for additional shows to do on, you know, on MonthlyTetris or wherever our stuff is. I want to do things, you know, not that this is like a big profit center, but you know, just to monetize or make, you know, merchandise available. And I never get around to that. So it's a lot of things that I like just want to do. I have the idea for them and I just can't do them. And you know, if I had like a staff of people and I were like paying them, and I could just like say, do this, do that, and check in on them every once in a while and be like a manager.
Yeah.
I'm a good manager of other people. I'm not a good manager of myself, and I'm not a good manager of volunteers, people who aren't being compensated. So this is really just like the perfect storm of just of incompetence, me running CTM for the last 2-something years.
We will return to the conversation with vandweller in a minute. But first, if you like the Peace Dependency Podcast, help us grow. Please share the podcast with every classic Tetris fan. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Peace Dependency. And you can like our Facebook page, Peace Dependency Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will have all the podcasts uploaded at full length. Also, you can listen to the Peace Dependency Podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. Join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server. Besides the fact that it's the place to discuss anything PDP, you can also participate in some lovely friendlies or put your ELO on the line in the various ELO battles. Last but not least, if you have a suggestion who we need to have on the next Peace Dependency Podcast, let us know through our socials, the Discord channel, or send us an email to peacedependencypodcast@gmail.com. Now, let's go back to the conversation with vandweller, where we will be talking about taking over. Now, let's go back to the conversation with vandweller, where we will be talking about taking over CTM. Yeah, you took over from Friday Witch late 2018, I believe. Why did Friday Witch want to stop hosting CTM?
Why did she want to? I don't know. You'd have to ask her. I just know that you know, it had started in December 2017 as a tournament with, you know, 16 people or something like that, and she kept it going until July of 2018. It had started to actually peter out by then, and in July 2018, only 9 people had actually were part of it. That was at the time that Yanni won, and there was some drama around Yanni and Corian, and I don't know the drama. And I you know, this is one thing you're going to find throughout this podcast, Frank, is that you're going to ask me like a question that relies on me remembering something, and I'm going to be like, I have no idea. So I'm like the worst the worst podcast guest. But yeah, so it started to peter out in July, and I remember that she had started to put feelers out like in June. Actually, even in even in April, because I did play in it in April one time of 2018.
Yeah.
I came. There were 15 people that were signed up, and I felt bad that it wasn't like an even 16. So I'm like, all right, I'm terrible, but I'll qualify. My qualifier was like 240,000, and I was in 16th place. And I got to face Green Tea in the first round. So anyway, but yeah, she had started around that time. She started to put feelers like out. Does somebody want to take this over? So yeah, the thing you have to realize if you're kind of new to all this thing, like you go to the Tetris category and you see like, oh, CTM matches, CTL, Classic Tetris Gauntlet, Classic Tetris Brawl, or whatever dog is doing. There's like ELO battles and Fight Rory and Beat the King, and I mean just endless numbers of Classic Tetris events. So back in early 2018, there was nothing. There was Classic Tetris monthly, one-time event, and nothing. There's literally no event, and almost nobody streaming. So on, and I'm, you know, I just have these long, horrible, unending answers, Frank. So feel free to cut me off at any time. But
I was going to say, how did you end up hosting CTM?
The answer to your question before was I have no idea why she didn't want to do it. Anyway, so but anyway, yeah. How did I come to host CTM? So as I was saying, there was nothing. There were nobody was playing online NES Tetris online except for CTM. I mean, as a competitive thing, literally nobody was doing it. So I had my own stream. I had started around February or March of 2018, streaming just my own play of Tetris, and I thought it would be cool to like play someone else online. So I had been interested in Legend of Zelda as well, and I was in their Discord server, and I saw that there were online matches and tournaments for Legend of Zelda, and that there was something called a restreamer, where they picked up the other person's game from their Twitch stream and then brought them into the same scene, and then had them compete against each other, which I thought, okay, that's cool. Like, what if we could do that for Tetris? So while I was streaming, and back then, by the way, very few people were streaming Tetris anyway. You could go click on Tetris, nobody's streaming it, which is you'd be hard pressed to have happen these days. So, you know, when I would stream, like I'm awful at it and boring and whatever, but I would have like 20, 25 viewers. So I don't know, there were people in there, and I said, hey, I got to work on creating like a restream scene that I was trying to lure people in to play and say, hey, does anybody want to play? And I don't know why I went through a whole bunch of different names. Tetris, I mean, and they're very violent too, like death match, kill match, bloodbath. Like, I don't know where my head was at that time, but I said on Tetris death match, I made this 2-way scene, and then I tried to lure people in and say, hey, does anybody want to play against me on my stream? And people were like, why would we want to do that? Who would want to play Tetris against another person on the internet? That doesn't make any sense. And I said, no, just come on, just someone try it, please. Like, I gotta beg people. Finally, I got someone to play me one match, and then instantly everybody got it right. I played Chrissy Ford, who is around the community, comes in every, pops in for 3 months, goes away for a year, that kind of thing. So she was there. That was the first person that played on Tetris Deathmatch, and it was just on my channel.
Yeah.
And then instantly people were like, oh, I want to do this. And so we started to, play me. I would put matches together between two other people, and it happened on a Sunday, and then said, will you do this again? Will you do this again? I'm like, okay, sure. So then I scheduled it for the next Sunday, and we did a whole broadcast, and I don't know, 20, 30, 40 people watching this stupid thing. And then Tetris Deathmatch was born, and I did it like I don't know, 3 to 4 Sundays a month for a good number of months. So I had this experience putting together these Tetris matches, and of course commentating over them and whatever. I didn't know anything, still don't. But and then, so by that time, this is an interminably long answer to a simple question.
Doesn't matter. Go
anyway.
On.
So I mean, Friday, which couldn't give this CTM thing away. She's like, I don't want to do it anymore. Can someone take it over? And those rumblings started as far back as April of 2018, and nobody stepped up and wanted it. Nobody wanted to do it. And then people were like, well, coming to me and saying, well, you already do this Tetris Deathmatch thing. Why don't you do the CTM thing? I'm like, I don't have time. I got stuff I got to do. I'm a busy man. I wasn't really. I'm just like, I don't know, whatever. But I don't want to do it. But it became evident that if no one took it over, like she had just declared, like, oh, this is the last month. It's not happening anymore. So I started to feel kind of guilty. Like, here, I'm the person most qualified and able to keep this thing going, and I don't want to do it. So I even said to her back in July, like, okay, I'm going to do it. Then I think about a month later, I'm like, I just got a job, and it requires me to do things on Saturdays and I can't do it. So I said no. Then I ended up getting a different job and it didn't require me to do anything on Saturday. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll take it over. And that was around end of August when I agreed to take it over. She and I planned some things out. We kind of worked out, like she kind of showed me stuff, how she was doing it. Far too technically complicated for me to do because she was having people stream to a private server. She would like where she would pick up this RMTP, whatever that is, and then bringing these two things together. And she had this whole very complicated and elaborate restreaming scene, I guess, and I couldn't duplicate that. So I did keep the private server for a few months, but I was able to figure that out.
Is that where the idea of the stencil was born?
The idea, well, she had a stencil, and it was a very rudimentary stencil. It was one box, and you just had to fit your Tetris screen in there. But as you can imagine, like if you're like 2 or 3 pixels off, it kind of magnifies the distortion throughout the rest of the scene, and nothing lines up. So so she made a stencil 2.0 to try to fix that. We never used that because I came up with the idea basically for this new transparent stencil, the one that we have today. But yeah,
the 3.0.
Yeah, the gold one that everybody knows, 3.6. I posted in my Do Not DM Vandy channel what 2.1 was, and it's pretty scuffed. But for that time, it was great, and yeah. So yeah, we worked on the stencil. She was there to show me the ropes. I also by the way, a lot of what I do is like driven by guilt. So if I feel guilty, then I'm driven to do things that no human being should do. For example, I always felt bad that the Classic Tetris Monthly, as she ran it, had a cutoff of 16 players. So I felt really bad that like some people want to play but don't have the opportunity to play. So I committed to whoever was going to qualify. If you put in a qualifier, you will play. So that was like a new thing. Unfortunately, October there were 24 participants, and I was not really prepared for that. And it was a lot of matches, and I had no idea how long matches took or anything like that. So that first stream, I want to say, was 10 hours, 11 hours, and like I got done with that. I'm like, I don't want to do an 11-hour stream again. So I had to come up with some stuff to like, I don't know, so I didn't have to do that.
How did you teach people to be a restreamer themselves?
Okay, so restreaming wasn't really a thing until January. I'll tell you how the restreamer thing happened. It was actually direct. I mean, your question's like right on cue, because so what happened is that tournament happened. It was like 24 people, and then people loved it. I don't know why we got 24 and the July one got 9. I don't know why, but people were into it. And of course, think of this. It's October 2018, right? CTM happens early in the month. What happened later that month? Joseph wins over Jonas at CTWC. So the interest in this thing couldn't be higher, right? So we got more participants, if I remember correctly, in November. And I knew that I couldn't do another 11-hour stream. So I had like all kinds of crazy like 3-way matches and round 0, and just trying to get the field down quickly at the beginning down to a manageable number. I don't think that we got it down that much. Like I think it was still I keep saying interminably. It was a really long stream, and it got to be a problem. And I still wanted to have the commitment. I thought it was a bad thing for the community for there to be a cutoff. Like, okay, 16 you can play. Above that, you cannot. So I came up with the idea of having a second tournament, and I was going to have. I don't remember. I think, did we try to run it as a entirely separate tournament right off the bat, or did we do restreamed? I think we ran it as a separate tournament right off the bat, if I'm not mistaken. But it became evident that that was untenable for me also because of, just because of the time commitment. So I said, well, what if we use this concept that the Legend of Zelda community does, and we just have restreamers, right? So I had to, people had no idea what this meant. Restreaming, what does that even mean? They didn't know what that was. And I said, well, you
Yeah.
take two people's Twitch streams and put them in the same scene and then talk over them. It's like, how do you do that? So I basically did a series of like office hours. Actually,
Yeah.
before the before the October 2010, I did stencil office hours for like a week because I had changed the stencil on everybody. And I felt so guilty about it that I felt like I got to spend all this time so that people like know how to use the stencil and their stream looks good. Mostly it was okay, but yeah, I did like restreaming office hours. I went in, I made a little restream video, and I taught a bunch of people like how to like, okay, you can actually use somebody else's Twitch stream as an input into your own Twitch stream and then talk over it. So that did not really exist. And even Friday Witches tournament was bringing like two direct streams into the scene. So nobody was really doing that in the Tetris community. So I had to sort of bring people along.
Yeah, and then along the way, more tournaments were held. We have now challengers, futures, and the community tiers. And the challenging circuit used to be a full month restreamer-based tournament, and now it is a 1-day event. What's the reason that the challengers went from a full month restreamer-based to a 1-day event?
Yeah. So, I mean, why do we even have a challenger circuit in the first place? Well, the community tournament got too big, right? And so it seemed like that this idea of everybody gets to play, this was really motivating for the community. And, you know, I remember back in the old Classic Tetris Monthly that Friday Witch ran, people would not submit a qualifier because they knew they wouldn't make it. Now, since we had the community tournament and a commitment from me that everybody who submitted a qualifier would get to play, it exploded. Like just tons of people submitted qualifiers. And so we started to have to do tiers of the community tournament. I think that's how it, yeah, well, I forget exactly the timeline, but we had to have multiple tournaments. And again, it just got to be to the point where it was just too much to handle. So we had to have more and more tournaments and more restreamers. And I mean, we just started to get so many people. But then so I broke it out into a challengers, and this was like, I wanted to differentiate. I didn't want to just have like 17 tiers of community tournament. I just made sense to have like a tournament that's almost like a feeder tournament, like a second chance tournament into the main event. And that was restreamed also. But what we found was that after a certain period of time, the people who would land in the main event were not all that different caliber than people who were in challenger circuit, but people would start to not submit qualifiers or would withdraw their qualifiers if they landed in the challenger circuit because they didn't want to restream. They didn't want to schedule, I don't want to schedule it out with somebody and find a restreamer. And it's a little bit of a hassle to be honest, but so I can understand that. So I said, well, if we're going to prevent the dilution of talent in the challenger circuit, then we have to make it easy and appealing, right? So we have to make it okay. It's a 1-day commitment. You don't have to schedule multiple things across the month with people. You just show up to the same thing as the main event. So that was what drove the decision to do that. And it was just, and it was a little more prestigious to say, okay, well, it's actually an event. It's not just some also ran thing that we do just to, just so people will, just to handle the overflow from the main event. It was like an event in its own right.
And why is there also a infamous red bracket rant?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think and thank God this podcast isn't going to go 4 hours, but I think after about 4 hours is where I start to get very tired and I don't want to do it anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to go that long. It's just too much to just continually talk. And you got to imagine what I'm doing here. I got like 3 monitors. I got like all these different Tetris games I'm trying to bring into the scene. I got multiple scenes in OBS. I got music. So it's very exhausting. And by the time I get to like the 4th hour, which is just about when the red bracket starts, I don't know. Something happens and I just lose my ability to control my mouth. And so I start to get a little irritated just from having streamed that long and then lose my filter as well. And then it just comes out. And sometimes there's something going on in the community And I don't know, for better or for worse, I don't know if I'm like I don't want to say like a leader in the community, but I'm a visible person, and people, you know, I don't know, they listen to what I have to say, and I have a little bit of influence or whatever. So sometimes I feel like just I need to say something, and some people need to hear it. And I've got a platform,
Yeah.
and damn it, I'm going to use it. You know what I mean? Like that's now objectively, there's no reason that has to be part of a Tetris broadcast, but my thinking gets warped by that hour, and I can't help myself.
And is it going to change? Because I heard rumors that the one-day events will be split into 2 different streams.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it's okay. So we used to have the early rounds that were, God, we could really do like 7 podcasts about all this, honestly. But there's a lot of stuff in here, and I go on a long time.
A part 1, a part 2.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, basically, we started. When we started off, we did best of 3 the whole way through the tournament, all the tournaments, and then the best of 5 was in the finals. And best of 3 is just as players have continued to increase in skill level, and their skill levels get closer and closer, because there's just more people in the tournament. Best of 3 just seems like such a toss-up. It's almost, it's just like whoever. I mean, I don't believe this, but there's a perception that whoever gets the best RNG wins a best of 3 much more often than a best of 5. There may be a little bit of truth to that. But so we started to introduce best of 5 all the way because it was player friendly, but that increased the length of a 16-player tournament by like an hour and a half to 2 hours. So it's just starting to get too long for me to do, and it's too long to make like somebody wins the orange bracket and they're waiting 5 hours. It's just not a good experience for the players. So we're going to divide up the main event into 2 channels. I'll be on channel 1, Monthly Tetris, and then we also have Monthly Tetris 2. And we'll either have a rotating group of people, or if there's somebody that I like and they seem to be doing a good job and they're willing, then let them be the regular host of it. I'm hoping it's Kibi Byte, who is right now he's my favorite restreamer. So I've invited him to do the second one, and I don't know. I hope he stays on.
Why is Kibi your favorite restreamer?
Kibi is very natural on the mic. He sounds like a real person. I have a real problem with people who are not problem. Okay, I don't have a problem. There's no problem, but I gravitate more toward people who are like natural, who sound like a real person, and who are having like a real reaction to what they're seeing, and who have a sense of humor. And so I think Kibi hits all those in a way that some other people don't. Like there are a lot of restreamers who are very presentational in a way that's kind of phony. For example, Kingsman. And I mean, no, he has his whole shtick, but it's a little bit of shtick because he doesn't go around in his regular life going like, bang, groceries, like he doesn't. That's not how he is. But I get the sense that Kibi is Kibi wherever he is, and I like that.
Who should make a comeback to CTM? Which Tetris player?
Who should make a comeback to CTM? Which Tetris player? So who do you perceive has left and doesn't play anymore?
Green Tea.
Okay, well there's your answer. I mean, like he's probably the best player who used to play but doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't want to, that's okay. I mean, a lot of people don't want to play it. I would like to see Jeff back in there again. I mean, there are some old school players who maybe aren't like the best players in the world and have a chance to, win it every month, but I still kind of miss them. People who took part in the early ones. Batboy, would love to see Batboy again. I don't know. I mean, part of it is also like we're naming DAS players, right? I think there's a little bit less motivation for DAS players to play in this event, to be honest. So at some point I do want to do some kind of DAS only tournament, or something like that. I don't know.
Do you have a preference if people are qualifying or not? Like you want a specific name in the in the tournament, but they won't qualify?
No, I don't go out of my way to try to recruit people to play in the tournament. I think that actually gets kind of annoying, honestly. I'm happy for any. It's hey, if you want to play, come on and play. There's a place for you to play. I don't go around recruiting.
Yeah.
I know, like when Jonas used to stream, this was like oh my god, I just want to go into a corner and just like whatever. But like people used to, can you imagine? I mean, Jonas, of course, one of the best players in the world, high profile, has a stream with like hundreds of people in it. So it seems to probably like once an hour, somebody's in there like, hey, Jonas, why don't you play CTM? It's like, so you got to imagine like he was getting sick of being asked. And so I'm just like, oh my God, every time I would hear it or see it, like, I'm like, please to stop. Like, don't do that in my name. I'm not going to harangue people and ask them to play. If they want to play, they know it's there. If they don't want to play, that's fine too. And I don't think, you would think, as somebody who's running the thing and wants to promote it and make it bigger, that I would want people to play every month. And no, I think people should take breaks. I don't think it's healthy to be this focused and obsessed on this kind of thing every single month. So I think people should take breaks, play a couple months in a row, take a couple months off. I'm perfectly happy with that. And I want that. I don't want people to burn out or have like negative things happen in their life because they're obsessed with Tetris. And I don't want to have any part in that.
Have you ever been burned out by NES Tetris?
Oh, constantly. I mean, I'm burned out by CTM. I mean, I don't want to do it anymore. No, I do want to do it. I mean, I do want to do it, but it's a lot of work. And as you'll notice, I've not so subtly pawned off a lot of this work to people like Hydrant Dude and Tegamech and Kingsman and whatever. And thank God that there are people who are willing to do some of these things, or this thing wouldn't even exist because I would not be able to keep up with it. It's not something one person can do. Have I burned out on NES Tetris? Yes. I put it, it got to be a distraction like in my life. And I put my whole setup in the garage. I packed it all up for an entire month. Did me a world of good. And I recommend this to anybody, that you can go on Amazon and get something called a kitchen safe or a K-safe. And it's like a box with a lid that has a lock on it that is actuated by a timer. And if I need to get to, I mean, I have this, like, I work right where I'm talking to you. I also do my job because I'm work from home now because of the pandemic. Right next to me is my Tetris game. So there are times when like my mind's wandering at work where I really need to focus on what I'm doing, but it feels so much better to just go over and like play Tetris, and then you get lost in it for an hour. And so I eventually, I got this this little kitchen safe, and I can put my controller in the safe and set, okay, I can't get my controller for 24 hours. You can set a timer. I'm all in favor of that. And really, you should never let this kind of thing take over your whole life.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, something else. The qualification process for CTM has changed the last couple of months. What's wrong with a high score 1 hour qualification?
There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. But I am sensitive to the fact that some folks think it's a bit there's a lot of variance in the sense of, like, if you have one bad qualifier, then your whole qualifier shot, and then they don't want to submit their qualifier and that whole thing. So there've been a lot of arguments, a lot of heated arguments about what is the best qualification scheme. And I do recognize that, there's some merit to smoothing it out a little bit, to making it a little bit less dependent on one score, which is also not a great experience all the time for the player because it's so much stress, right? I gotta get one score. Holy crap. We tried doing 3 scores in an hour. That's very stressful as well. Because now, like, I don't know, you might be able to get one good score, maybe even a half decent second score, but getting that third score, it's like almost no time to get it. So I thought that was a lot of stress. We've tried having your top 2. This actually seemed to like your average of your top 2 scores in an hour. What else have we tried? I don't know. So what we're actually gonna try next month, I think, and I think this is the direction we're gonna be moving in, is having ELO be part of the equation.
Yeah.
So maybe ELO will determine your placement in what, your the actual tournament that you get placed in, but then your seeding within that tournament will be based on the qualifier. Toying with that idea, haven't fleshed it out yet.
All right, so the top 16 in the ELO rankings will qualify, and the qualifying score will determine what seed they will have within that given tournament.
Yeah, but if we do that, there's a real tendency for the top 16 to just be the same top 16 every month. So what I think I might do, yeah, this is all just kind of like off the top of my head, like maybe open up more seeds of more like to people from Challenger Circuit. So maybe like 3 people get in from the Challenger Circuit just to mix it up a little bit more, that kind of thing. So there's definitely things that we can do. And I know it may seem like a little, I don't know, chaotic. Like you don't know what the qualifying scheme is for month to month. But I've always experimented. I've always tried to do different things, optimize. In the end, if you don't like it this month, don't play, and then you can come back next month. You know what I mean? Like there's always one the next month. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And there's really, if you look at like other sports, like golf or bowling or all these things that have like a tournament, season throughout the year, they don't always have the same qualification scheme, from any tournament to any other tournament. So I don't know that there's any reason that we have to, but I would like to settle on something eventually. And I think now that we have this ELO thing locked down, the beginning of ELO, oh my God, it was awful. It was terrible. But it seems like it's all stabilized to now it's actually kind of a usable, useful framework. So I think it would be worth it to investigate using it.
Yeah, and we had a stupid Tetris monthly in November, I believe. Will something like that return in the next couple of months?
Probably. We have we took a month off in July. I was starting to get burned out, and I started to get a sense from other people that they were feeling burned out. And July is always historically one of the lower months, lower volume months in terms of qualifiers anyway. So I thought it would be a good idea to just give people a break. And then when CTWC was announced that it was going to be online, I didn't really want to. It seemed like it would be too much Tetris, and I didn't want to have a tournament where people felt obligated to try and win, or maybe we'd have a watered down qualifier pool, and somebody from like no offense community tournament, but community tournament level would like get into the main event and like win that. So I'm like, all right, well, why don't we, the whatever month that CTWC is mostly occurring in, why don't we just do something stupid? And we made it so, and they weren't going to have any side events for CTWC. So I'm like, well, why don't we make it a side event tournament? And this was a lot of fun for me to just devise the menu of game variants that we were going to use. So I think it's something that we will see again, maybe once a year, and maybe during one of these kind of off months. But it was like super fun. It was honestly like I was feeling burned out by the time we got to that, and it really reinvigorated me, especially where I was heavily involved in CTWC this year. It allowed me to still have fun with CTM, but keep my focus on CTWC for that month.
Yeah, you have experience with both Maxoutclub and traditional restream setup. Which one do you prefer?
The traditional restream setup.
Why?
Because it doesn't involve people learning like a new piece of software. If you're streaming on Twitch, you've already got OBS and you figured it out. I also think that the traditional restreaming setup allows for a bit more creativity on the part of the restreamer rather than just being beholden to whatever Maxoutclub's layout is. Now I know you could take Maxoutclub's layout and change it if you wanted to, but I think that I think it's easier. Hey, stream to your Twitch channel, get on the stencil. I don't know. I just think it's simpler.
Will we see CTM back on YouTube?
YouTube. I love YouTube, as you know.
I know.
Will we see CTM back on YouTube? Yes. I'm actually I'm really bad at YouTube. And again, I also have this general, as we have talked about, where I'm just bad at following through on certain things. So, actually, remember very early when we moved off of CTM off of my own vandweller channel onto MonthlyTetris channel, Game Scout did the first like edit of I think it was February 2019, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And he posted on YouTube, and I thought it was great. Now he's obviously become like a huge thing now, and he's like all blown up, and so he's not going to be able to do that anymore. So I think I have to go buy these. I have to go buy and learn all these video editing tools so I can like make it something that I actually want to show on, actually is worth viewing. Now I think we can just dump the VODs on there, and we can do that and whatever. And I think if you know Remainings, he's offered to help me do stuff on YouTube. He's pretty good on YouTube. He's got, I don't know, a Roblox channel that certain people like.
Yeah.
And so he's offered to help me put stuff on there, which is great. But at the end of the day, I either have to do it myself or I have to pay someone to do it, because I don't know. I don't feel good about having someone just doing stuff for free all the time. And this thing makes no money. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually, yes.
The reason you love YouTube is because you are loved within the YouTube comments. What's the biggest difference between a classic Tetris fan that's watching live on Twitch and watching it on YouTube?
Well, for one thing, if you're watching on Twitch, you're watching it live. I mean, you're part of the experience. You're there. If I refer to something that someone said in chat, you know what I'm talking about, right? So you're inside. It also implies a certain, I don't know, level of engagement with the community, since you're there, part of the communal experience with all the people. I mean, it's fun to be in the chat. If you're watching it on YouTube, who knows? It could be just something, you watch it or not, it doesn't matter to you. If you watch it this month, who cares? If somebody says who wins, then you don't watch it. I just think it's a more casual viewership, and therefore they're not as engaged or embedded in the community. And so I don't know. There's a certain hostility that I observe from people who watch it primarily on YouTube, and I don't enjoy that. I enjoy the people who are really involved in the community and care enough to actually make the time to watch it the day of. And that's really who the broadcast is for. If it goes on YouTube, I don't care. Like, it's not for you. I'll put it on there just as a convenience, as an archive, but I'm not looking to like blow up the YouTube channel and like, be this whole thing. I don't care about that. I'm really there for the people who are like in the community every day and want to be part of it.
As a commentator, do you like to have an active chat?
I do, because it entertains me. Like, it can sometimes, if you were watching the stream without watching the chat, sometimes I'll say things that appear to be a complete non sequitur, and it's just, maybe not a good viewing experience. But again, I don't know that I'm doing this 100% for, for people who aren't engaged in the chat, or, it's really when I think about like, who am I doing this for, apart from me, the personal satisfaction I get, it's for the people who, who are in the Discord every day, people who show up to watch it live, people who are engaged in the chat. And I understand that other people watch it and they're lurking, and that's cool too. So yeah, I do like the chat, because that's what it's all about. And the players, of course.
And when you start doing the death matches, had you had any experience before commentating?
I had a little bit of, well, sort of. I mean, I had a little bit of radio experience in college, and I had, back in the late 2000s, like 2008, 2009, I was a professional poker player. And also, like, I was brought on to a website to do like poker coaching. So, I had experience, working a microphone and being, presenting something to someone. And I don't know, I'd also flirted with stand-up comedy back in my younger days, and like when I was a kid, what I wanted to be more than anything else was a weatherman. I like on TV, on TV. I don't know, because I always had like a sense of humor, but I was also interested in like science. So, and I also, I don't know, like presenting things. So to me, it's like, okay, well, it's like weatherman is like the stand-up comedy of science, you know, like you get up every day, you've got your like 3 minutes and you're just trying to entertain people and inform them. So I always thought that was interesting.
Oh, cool.
By the way, I'm not currently a weatherman, just in case.
No.
Okay.
That would be amazing. If you were a weatherman, do you want to be a weatherman at a news broadcast or one at a 24/7 weather channel?
I'm very proud of you because this question is completely off script. There's no chance that you had this question written down before. So I'm very proud of you that you were able to improvise this question. So
most of my questions are improvised.
Are they? Oh my God. Because I tell you, when I watch these things and they come out on YouTube and you can see like the structure, it seems very linear. I'm like, all right, he's got this all mapped out, super organized, like going, you know, whatever, question by question in order. So if that's all improvised, then I'm very impressed. Anyway, I don't remember the question, but it's something about weather. So
do you want to be a weatherman that's at a news broadcast or one that is a weatherman for a 24/7 news channel?
Oh, that's asking the tough questions. That's really when people were tuning into this, that's what they wanted to know. I have no idea. Maybe the news. I don't know. I'll go back and think about that, and then maybe we'll do a follow-up podcast.
Cool. Hey, the Masters, the Challenges, the Finals of the Futures and Community Tournaments are hosted on the MonthlyTetris Twitch channel. Yeah. What was the original plan for this Monthly Tetris channel?
The original plan was to host all of our events. You know, we ran the first 3 CTMs, I want to say, or 4. Well, not the first, but my first, you know, starting October 2018 through December. And maybe through January, I don't remember. We ran it on my own Twitch channel, twitch.tv/vandweller. If you want to go, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. And then I thought, well, okay, well, this is, you know, it's kind of becoming its own thing. And it didn't, you know, how would you intuitively know to go to something called vandweller to watch Tetris? Didn't make sense. So I came up with the name MonthlyTetris because it's got, you know, exactly what it is right in the title. It's monthly and it's Tetris. So I made the Twitch channel, and it was intended to have everything that we're doing now on it. Around that time, you know, I'd been in casual contact with the CTWC guys, and you know, they have a problem, and their problem is that their thing happens once a year, and you know, there are a couple qualifiers here and there, but whatever. But basically, they have stuff happening once a year on their channel, and otherwise it's completely vacant. So I was the only one that was producing anything on a regular basis in terms of Tetris content. And so they came to me and they said, hey, you're producing this. We have nothing going on our channel, but we want to get involved in Twitch. Would you host your events on our channel? And I thought, okay, sure. Because I didn't have any big, like, I just wanted to get it off my main channel, my own personal channel, so that I could do whatever I wanted on my, you know, personal channel without people coming there to expect Tetris and not getting it. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help you out. No problem. I mean, I had no designs on like making money with it, with getting a partner channel, whatever. So they came to me and asked, and I said, sure, I'll do that. So so I started streaming on their channel, and that led to a relationship that led to me doing side stage commentary in Portland in 2019, and into doing a lot of the commentary for the early rounds for 2020. So that was definitely fun.
How long did you produce CTM on CTWC Twitch?
From February of 2019 until last month, or the month before? November, I think. Yeah.
What's the reason that you went back to the Monthly Tetris?
Straight cash, homie. No, it wasn't that. It was here's I always kind of thought that, okay, I kind of want to get this back onto something where like I control it. And you know, we're, you know, CTWC is CTWC, so they're always going to be interested in their content first, which totally makes sense. I mean, that's their stuff. That's what they're trying to do. Our stuff is always going to be secondary. So when it came time for CTWC 2020 and the months leading up to it, our videos were not posted on YouTube. And again, I don't particularly care if they're posted or not, whatever. But people ask me about it. Hey, I want to see it on YouTube. It wasn't posted. So now this isn't, I'm not mad about this. I'm not upset about this, but it did reinforce to me that like we would never be the top priority on the CTWC channel. So, and that also goes for their Twitch channel, because there are times when I want to run something, they've already got something going, I have to move my event. So I just wanted to bring it back to a place that I controlled and where our events would be our number one priority. So that was the plan, especially after so many months of them not being posted on YouTube. It just became evident to me, like, you know, again, it's nothing against them. I totally makes sense. They're working on CTWC. It wasn't easy. But I just wanted it to be in a place where, yeah, where our stuff is the number one priority. So that was our plan. It wasn't really a plan. It's just something I kind of decided to do, like in December. And it also gave me the opportunity to maybe do, because I'm always conscious, like when I'm on CTWC channel, like, okay, this is a wider audience. It's not my niche, like core audience. There's a lot of folks that come in that are just interested in Tetris and don't care about like me or my terrible personality or bad jokes or inside jokes or anything like that. So I always have to kind of like tone it down a little bit to make it just, you know, wider kind of audience and wider interest. And, you know, and I just thought that if I could bring it on my own channel, I could be a little more fast and loose and be more myself a little bit in a way that I didn't feel comfortable being on the CTWC channel. So there's no falling out. There's no bad blood. I talked to Trey this morning for 2 hours, just, you know, casual chit chat. So it's still a great relationship. And I have no doubt that I will be doing things on their channel again or involved with them if they'll have me, which I don't see why they wouldn't. But it just made sense for me to have our main bread and butter stuff on our channel.
And will we see more things besides CTM here on MonthlyTetris?
Nope, that's it. No, yeah, we will. Yes, for example, this thing. But also, yeah, I've had ideas for shows that I wanted to put on, and I was really ready to start doing some of those shows in January until, you know, the unfortunate news, and then that kind of really threw me. And I just didn't think it was appropriate. I first of all, I was in a really bad headspace after, you know, Jonas passed away. And it didn't feel appropriate to, because there was a real increase in interest in the Tetris category on Twitch for the week or so after the news came out. And that was really the week that I had planned to do a whole bunch of new things. And I didn't feel that it was appropriate. The optics didn't seem right. You know, we're like, oh, he passes away. People want to see Tetris on Twitch. And all of a sudden now I'm streaming every day. Even though that was the plan.
Feels like taking advantage.
It does feel like taking advantage. And, you know, there are other people that streamed during that time more than they usually did. And that's fine. That's, you know, there was an audience for it. People wanted to hear from people and watch Tetris content so that they could, you know, communalize around it or whatever. But I was also trying to make a partner push for my channel. And I just didn't want to have it where my partner application was bolstered by the extra attention on the Tetris category that as a result of what happened. I just didn't want that to be on my partner application. So I was fine with taking several weeks off to let that kind of die down, and then we'll make our partner push again in February.
And what kind of new shows do you want to produce here?
Yeah, I mean, things that are less competitive. So, you know, we mentioned like Teach Me Tetris. So we'll probably start off by having me learning Tetris from some of the masters in the community, and, you know, give their time and, you know, take an hour or two to teach me some stuff live on stream. That'll be fun. You know, not a competitive concept. The other thing is I've been in my head, I've been calling the early version was going to be called Max Out Live. It was going to be people going for their first max out, like people who were in the 800 or 900 range, and then they would be playing on stream, and we would restream their streams into one stream where like a bunch of people would just kind of commentate on it, and like as soon as someone got close, then we could like focus in on that one and say, oh my god, and like, all follow it together. Now, of course, all those people, when I came up with that idea, which was like a year ago, all those people have since maxed out, and pretty much people are maxing out within a week. So, you know, we're gonna I'm doing it more as like a PB show. So we're gonna get like, you know, 16, 20 people all agree to stream during the same 3 to 4 hour block. We're gonna, you know, they'll put a hashtag in their stream title, and then we will have people following along and like give us like a little alert when someone's getting close or is on a hot pace, and then we can switch over to them, and we can, you know, whoever's with me in the booth can like, you know, pog over it and kind of get excited for them. So that's going to be called I think it's going to be called Monday Night Chasedown, or whatever night it happens.
Yeah, and will there be only focusing on NTSC events, or will there also be PAL events?
I've never heard of the thing you're referring to. What is it? PAL? I don't know. I don't know what that is. No, PAL.
All right.
Yeah, I guess so. Sure. Why not? I mean, but PAL, gotta be honest, PAL does not, they don't seem to like me very much over there.
Why don't they like you?
Well, I don't know. I used to, I think just, you know, you create like a fake kind of feud just for the memes, just because it's funny to pretend that like who would care enough about Tetris for there to be Tetris drama and like two warring factions. And so sometimes I would, you know, kind of diss like Euro people or Europe in general or PAL or whatever as like a playful diss, you know. Now, I don't know if it's the language barrier or whatever, but I think some people took that really seriously. In addition, there was some kind of I don't know, folks that drew a little bit extra attention in the European community. Just, I don't know, for some reason, like there was like bullying going back and forth or whatever, and completely unrelated to all this, you know, fake feud stuff. But I think that kind of got in there, and that ended up, it just started turning real. Like, you know, like I don't know, like they just, for some reason they don't like me, and then like I had a couple of people from the PAL community like DM me and say, hey, we need you to stop we need you to stop dissing the PAL community. I'm like, you realize it's a joke, right? And they're like, well, even if it is a joke, people don't take it that way, and it's causing a lot of grief. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. Like, if you can't get a joke, then I can't deal with people who can't take a joke. You know what I mean? So so I don't know. Somehow that feud turned real, but I have no animosity. I mean, PAL is fine. Europe is fine. I've been to Europe twice. I want to go again. Hopefully I don't run into any Tetris people there, because they'll probably, I don't know what they'll do. They'll beat me up or something. But
you should go to see CTWC.
I would go to that. You know, I would totally go to that. I mean, I don't know if I'd travel just for that, but you know, I'd go see some other stuff too. But yeah,
I'll take a nice trip around Copenhagen.
Yeah, I have no problem with PAL at all, and I think it has its own dynamic, which is interesting. And you know, I think the idea of like 19 being a kill screen, I never believed that at all. And Adam MTSO2 is proving that that is the case. I've never thought of it as a kill screen. And so it'll be really interesting to see. And some of the new frontiers of what's possible are going to happen in PAL, because basically after 19, that's it, right? I don't think there's any more speed increases. Yeah. So in theory, you should be able to play forever. So it's just going to be an issue of like concentration, like who can concentrate, who can execute flawlessly for that extended period of time. And I think it's going to be very interesting. I don't think it's super interesting in a tournament context, to be honest. I think the fact that games more or less die at 19, like you just start on 18 and then you go for 130 lines and it ends. I think there's a certain drama that the NTSC version brings in with like the transition, where it's like another gear is hit and then it's like a sprint to see, can you survive, and also can you make it to 29. There's a drama inherent in that, which PAL doesn't really have, which is more about squeezing as much perfection into 130 lines as possible. I don't find that as personally compelling, but I think the actual chase for a PB in PAL is really compelling.
And do you think that 29 on the NTSC should still be called Killscreen?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it was intended to be a kill screen by the developers. I don't think it was. Well, of course. Well, how do I know that? I don't know. I assume, and we all assume that it was intended to be a kill screen. I don't think they anticipated anyone ever being able to play past it. On the other hand, if it were really supposed to be like you don't play past it, then they should have just had a curtain come down and say, congratulations, you got to level 29, but they didn't do that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. A kill screen is as a kill screen does. If you can't make it, if you're a DAS player, it's a kill screen. If you're a hyper tapper,
Yeah.
yeah, you can play into it. And other games have a kill screen that you can play into. Pac-Man has a kill screen and you can keep playing. So, yeah, if you want to call it a kill screen, I'm not going to argue with you, but I think it's fun to call it the thrill screen or the skill screen or whatever.
And do you think that matches will be decided on kill screen more often than they do now?
Almost assuredly. I mean, they're happening more often now than they were a year ago, and there's no reason to think that it won't be any less. And it's really exciting just to see, people are developing strategies for post 29 play, and
Yeah.
and discussing. It's all these like teenagers and tappers, in these secret Discord channels, developing all these strategies, sharing them with one another. And it's amazing. And, then the rest of it get to observe it on a monthly basis and say, where did that come from? Well, where it came from was people figuring all this stuff out and sharing the knowledge with each other, which is like really fun. So a year from now, who knows? I mean, people might be playing into level 50. I have no idea, but I wouldn't put a limit on what on human potential at all, just philosophically. So,
Yeah.
2 years ago, people were like, "Oh, people won't be able to play into Killscreen." And I was like, "How do you know that?" People are very good at figuring out how to do things and overcoming, barriers. So I don't see any reason to limit it at all. So I've never been one of those people that's like, "Oh, this will never happen," because I don't know. People who say that kind of thing have been proved, time and time again that doesn't work.
Along with the Classic Tetris monthly tournaments, you own the CTM Discord server. It's now considered to be the main Discord server for Classic Tetris. Did you ever expect to own the largest Discord server in Classic Tetris?
Yeah, when it was 1989, I'm like, someday I will own. No, listen, I don't even like video games that much. Like, I'm interested in them. I don't play. I have a history as a teenager playing them, and I kind of left it behind. Occasionally you'll play this or that. I had a roommate that had an Xbox, back in the 2000s, and I played Halo and Splinter Cell, and it was good. And then I didn't play video games again for 10 years. And then, I play. So I don't know. I didn't expect to do anything related to any video game at all.
Yeah.
I think I'm a good Discord owner, though. I have a certain philosophy of I try not to rule with a heavy hand. I try to let people be who they are. Not everybody likes everybody, or meshes with how people express themselves, but I can't let the way that I feel or other people feel like be this, like, I don't know, where, oh, well, you can't say that way or whatever. There's some things that we disallow, things that would get us in trouble with Discord, and just certain types of speech which aren't helpful. But we try to let people be who they are without this heavy hand, and a lot of people don't like that. They kind of wish we would say, oh, well, he said this, you ban him or mute that. I'm just not that way. I feel like, if you don't like something, don't read it, so
Yeah.
you can block people you don't like. That's the way I feel.
Are there channels on the Discord server that you don't read?
Yeah. Anything, like most of them, I guess. I can't do it. I'm trying to. So I don't have a Facebook, anything. I don't have any social media. Discord is my one remaining digital distraction. I even unfollowed everything on YouTube. I don't have any recommendations on YouTube. I don't follow anything. If I want something, I go and find the information. And Discord is the one last pull that I have, which is like, I gotta go check that. I gotta go check that. I gotta go check that. So I'm trying to rein that in, and having my own kind of private channel helps. Not private, but my own kind of where I can just do stuff out of that channel. I will go into some of the meme channels just because they're, it's like a little break from the day. Go in and see what the latest pasta is and participate in that, because people, I think, enjoy when the server owner gets involved in some of the memes and pasta, and that's fun for people, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I don't follow everything. I'm not up to date on all the channels, nor do I think anyone listening should be. That's a lot. I mean, we have a lot of channels. There's a lot of activity. And if you're like getting stressed out because you're like missing stuff that's happening in these channels, like don't read it all. Just dip in to a couple of your favorite topics, and otherwise like leave the rest alone, and don't get, don't let it like ruin your life, like any of the social media stuff or online communities or anything.
Have you even removed your TikTok channel?
I did. No TikTok. I'll tell you, I'll tell you why. Okay. I'll tell you why I removed all these channels. They don't do anything. Okay. The number of people who have said to me, "Oh, I found you on Twitter." Like I can count on two fingers,
Yeah.
for all the effort of like, oh man, I got to get a tweet out. So before the event, I got, nobody find the people who are seeing that are people who are already following you on Discord, or who are already following you on Twitch. They don't need to see that. Same thing with like Facebook. It's a lot of, you have to use these tools very intentionally, because they are designed to, grab your attention, give you a shot of um, of dopamine every time, and you just go seeking these dopamine hits all the time. And if you don't delimit your relationship with these tools to like a productive use, then they become very harmful. And
Yeah.
they're also like there's just not a lot of bang for the buck. Like, I don't know, like I'm a big fan of certain productivity gurus, one of whom is called Cal Newport. And his work is he's a great book called Digital Minimalism. His work probably gave me the push to finally go ahead and delete all these social media accounts. And he just makes the point that like if say you're an author and you have a book to promote, like
Yeah.
very few of your sales are going to come from people from you interacting with people on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
So like, and he knows because he's written like a bunch of best-selling books. So it's like, you know what? If he doesn't need to have social media accounts and promote himself on Twitter, then I don't either. So I just got rid of it all.
And how many hours a week are you putting in the Discord server?
A lot, too many. Even as I do less and less of the day to day, which again, it's like Hydrant Dude, Tegamech, Kingsman, Kirby, Professor L. Like those are like the real core mods that do most of the work.
Yeah.
I still find myself spending way too much time on there, and I got to try to find ways to do less. But it's it's an embarrassing number of hours a day that a lot of it's kind of wasted. And I know I shouldn't be saying that, because I should be trying to promote the Discord server and you should spend all your time in the world there. But I don't care. I don't get paid. If you're in there 12 hours a day, it doesn't benefit me at all. So like, don't let Discord ruin your life, kids. Go outside.
After Joseph won his world championship, the server got a boost, the community got a boost. I've asked GameScout the exact same question. Was the community ready for the boost that they got?
The boost. Well, I mean, what do you mean by the boost? Like the increase in
the
people
increase
interested?
of yeah.
Well, I mean, the community is all the people who are interested in it. So, is the community ready for the number of people in the community? Like, I mean, if you joined, you're ready. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, it's a sport that is, I think it is a sport, and I think it's has a lot of aspects. It's very simple on the at the surface, but it's very, very complex when you keep digging, and it seems to be richer and richer the more people dive into it. And in terms of, is the community ready? Yeah, the community is just whoever's interested in it. So sure, yeah, community's ready. I think that the culture of the community changes a bit. I think back in the early days of the online community, which I was involved in, it was a lot more close knit. It was a lot older,
Yeah.
that skewed toward people in their 20s and 30s. And I guess I used to be in my 30s as well. Uh, But so it's changed a little bit. The demographic is skewed a lot younger. So now, the more deep fried memes, a little bit more absurdity, that kind of thing. And some of the older people are put off by that, but I'm not. I think it's great. I don't, I think however it changes, I think it's fascinating, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
And how different is it to manage the server for older generation and the younger generation?
It's a challenge because I don't want to be too heavy-handed. When I took over the CTM server, I think it was 86 people were in it, and now at a certain point we had over 3,100. I did a server purge where we purged about 600 inactive accounts, and now we're about 2,600 people.
Yeah.
And yeah, they skew younger, and obviously there's just more activity. There's more. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of ADD. A lot of people are just just kind of, I have a stray thought. It occurs to me. I post it. So there's a lot of noise. The signal to noise ratio is kind of low.
Yeah.
It makes it a real challenge to get anything useful out of the server. And I'm trying to find ways to embrace, the way that younger people communicate while still having it be useful as a source of information for everyone in general. So I try and I beg the community to please be cognizant of where you're doing, where you're chatting and what the topic of the channel is, and try to take the low content stuff to the designated low content channels that we have, and try to keep the conversations focused, loosely around what the channel title is. But they don't always listen. And I'll probably have a red bracket rant about it in the next ZTM.
And what's the favorite running gag within the CTM Discord?
I gotta be honest. I'm going to use your question as an opportunity to rant about something.
Oh yeah, go on.
I don't like questions that start with "What's your favorite?" I don't like that. I'm really bad at those kind of questions. Like, "What's your favorite song? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite meme?" I can't answer questions like that because I'm trying to all in a moment mentally rank all the different movies or memes or whatever, and then I'm trying to think, okay, which one's at the top, and then I have to decide, do I really want to publicly commit to saying that this one is my favorite? I hate questions that start with "What is your favorite?" I'd much rather ask, "Hey, of all the memes that you like on CTM, which one springs to mind first?" It's like, okay, so let me try to think. I'll answer that question that I asked myself. I wouldn't say memes, but the thing that I like the most is the Olive Garden channel and the Buco de Beppo channel, or Buco de Beppo channel, where it's pasting the same copy pasta over and over and again, and then the constant war of people trying to have the longest chain of pasta, posted before someone comes in and breaks the chain. I love that. I think that's super fun, and I can't stand chain breakers, and you guys are the worst. You guys are all antisocial edgelords, and if it were up to me, I'd drum you out of the community, but it doesn't seem fair. But no, I think it's a fun thing, so I enjoy that. And you got to have something. Like every streamer has their things, right? So I got chicken sandwiches, I got line spins, I got making fun of Kingsman, I got Stencil Reddit. I got all these little hooks, and these are things that happen organically. But but you go to every streamer, every influencer, every celebrity, they all have their little their communities have their own private language, which identifies you to other people that hey, I'm part of this community, and we all say the same thing. So you got to have those things, and I'm not saying we come up with them, or I come up with them on purpose, but when something comes up that seems kind of meme worthy or that sticks in people's head, then I just kind of run with it and just kind of make it a thing. So that's
Yeah.
where all the line spin stuff comes from, and chicken sandwich stuff comes from. And
Where can you find the best chicken sandwich?
the best one, well, I can say in Austin, Texas, it's at, I mean, they're not paying me. Flyrite, which is FLYRITE. And that's where I get the chicken sandwich delivered. Most CTMs, I get it delivered to my house, or, someone brings it to me.
Do you always order the same one or different ones?
I do. I order the cowboy combo without jalapenos, which I know doesn't sound very cowboyish. It sounds kind of wimpy to like get the jalapenos taken off, but those effing things are hot, man. And
Yeah.
it's already got this like hot sauce on it, and then they put jalapenos on top of it. So I get it without the jalapenos, and yeah, and so I get that with a side of tots and then a blueberry soda. But I went there recently, and they've discontinued the blueberry soda, and I don't know. It's like someone like kidnapped my child.
So for what drink are you going now?
They have a lemon lime soda, which is like, I don't know. I can't just have like Coca-Cola products or whatever. I have to have like artisanal hipster sodas, so like, because if you live in Austin, you have to be like a hipster and pay $10 for something that most people would pay $1 for. So yeah, they have this main root soda that I enjoy. That's the name of the brand. And they have a lemon lime, which I've tried, which is okay, but it's just not as good as that blueberry soda, man. I'm like kind of bummed out.
If you had Twitter, you could rant about it on Twitter.
I could rant about it on Twitter. You're right. You're right.
Hey, my final question to you is: what will the future look like for you?
I have how do I know? What kind of question is that, Frank? What is your future going to look like?
My future, I'm planning to do something differently with my job.
Yeah. Okay.
We really want a second child.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Let's see.
It's not easy to answer, is it?
No, I can always ask.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I'll probably, I don't know. Part of me wants to just like leave this CTM to someone like, listen, I love it. I think it's great. But let's say, I've been doing it for 3 years. Has my enthusiasm waned a little bit? Yeah, in a little bit, I mean, the thing that drove me to do it at the beginning was guilt that it would go away if nobody did it. And I was the only one who stepped up to do it. And also the other thing that drove me to do it was I enjoyed messing around in OBS. I liked making new scenes. I like trying to optimize the scenes, and I've got most of that figured out now. I've kept the thing alive, and we've inspired a whole new generation of people making their own events, their own channels, their own. So the classic Tetris scene isn't going anywhere if I go anywhere, which, if that was the case, like at the very beginning, like at least on Twitch anyway. So I think we've gotten past that point. And so I don't know, maybe somebody will come along and they're just like super enthusiastic, bring a whole bunch of new ideas to it, and I would be open to that. So, but I don't know, or I could just keep it going. I have no idea. It's the future. That's if it were. I don't know. I don't know how to predict the future. That's the other kind of question. You ask a lot of questions I don't like, Frank.
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
Okay. No.
I have no idea. I'm not giving it to Kingsman. That's what's not going to happen.
All right. Anyhow, I just don't know how to respond to that. But thank you for being on the show. And with that all being said, this will be the end of the Peace Dependency Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to join the Tetris Friendlies Discord server and follow me on the socials at SirMacer. For now, I wish you a great Tetris month, and I will see you all in March. Bye!